Good afternoon. Thanks, Melissa. Leadership, buzzy word. A lot of people talking about it. And I just thought in my presentation today, I might just give you a little bit of space to actually frame for yourselves exactly how it relates to you and your salespeople. And to do that, I'm going to give you a little bit of time to think about just a couple of key points. I'm not going to be overloading you with data here today, but up on the screen there it says sales leadership, it shouldn't be so hard. It's interesting, you sit here in this room and you're actually being led by Queensland leaders. At some point over recent times you came to a decision that you wanted to go on a journey of development, of change, of learning, of growth. And you wanted to find an environment that was safe, that you could relate with like-minded peers. And what this business is actually doing is leading you on that journey. And when you look at sales leadership, many on your sales teams at the moment are yearning for exactly the same thing. But as a business owner, because of the hectic pace of business, we don't often pause and think about sales leadership. And to really understand what sales leadership means to you, I think you need to understand actually what a salesperson is and some of the thinking. Like obviously for some businesses, not all, but for many businesses that we're involved in, over many years it's been the forgotten sort of part of the business. People employ people and they are sold at point of interview. They're asked to go and sell. You could have a show of hands from anyone in the room who's actually employed someone and they have not met or consistently met your expectations. Could I have a show of hands? Yeah, it's common. And one of the things we need to do is try and ascertain what some of the reasons for that. You know, for many salespeople, it's the job that they took when they couldn't get the job that they wanted. Maybe that they were technical experts and they found themselves in a sales role and they were told to go and sell something. They may have had a value misalignment. You know, the mindset may have been selling is about manipulation or profiting at the expense of other people. And of course, there's something very, very different from that. So I'm wondering if I could just put it out to the group. What do you think sales leadership is in one or two words? Could I have a few responses? This is an English-speaking audience, is it not? Okay. What is sales leadership?
Self-driven.
Self-driven? Yeah, people say self-driven. Someone else?
It's an innovation journey.
Innovation journey. Good. Someone else? You often hear these words about vision. Interesting word. I'd like you to just consider this for a moment. There are 4 things that your people wanted when they first started with you, your salespeople. Call them account managers, new business development managers, consultants, whatever the role may be. If there is a sales function, I would suggest that there were 4 things that they wanted. The first thing that they wanted when they commenced work is they wanted to do a good job. The second thing that they wanted is they wanted to be fairly compensated for doing a good job. The third thing that they wanted is they wanted to be recognised for doing a good job. And the fourth thing that they wanted is they wanted a leader and or manager that walks his or her talk. Which leads us to some of the attributes of great leaders. Time's not going to permit me to go into these in too much detail, but for the sake of this case study I'm about to present to you, my apologies. These are just 7 traits of 7 and 7 only of great leaders. And I wanted to draw your attention to these bottom 2 here, where we can use motivation and recognition and rewards to motivate salespeople and to consistently develop talent and coach relentlessly. People say to me it's about motivation. Well, motivation's great. You know, would you agree that motivation's an important part of any function? Absolutely. But the truth of the matter is if someone is an idiot and you motivate them, well, you've got to motivate an idiot, and that's very dangerous, you know. So motivation is but one part. So there's a combination of motivation and understanding what are the different motivators for salespeople, coupled with a series of skills and processes. And to give you a snapshot, because time's running out here, I'll just give you a quick insight into some of the reasons only why people leave. Often, 80%, our research would confirm that 80% of people leave their management, not their job. There's a couple of reasons for that. Inappropriate use of power. For example, someone may have a dictatorial style of leadership about him. They may force an individual to do particular tasks within their work environment that they're uncomfortable with and or don't have the necessary skills. People will leave businesses because of inappropriate rewards. For example, the leader may suggest what motivates me is money, for example. So I will increase everyone's pay. I will pay a bonus on over and above KPIs of sales, whatever it may be. But if money is not a motivator for that particular salesperson, that indeed could be problematic. Not selecting the right person for the right job. As I said, one of the great issues in business today, particularly as the area of sales has become a lot more sophisticated and a lot more targeted, is there are enormous amount of technical experts that are finding themselves in the sales role. Can anyone relate to that? Yeah, okay. And without the right education and leadership working side by side with them to demystify selling, number one, without that, irrespective of someone's level of technical expertise, yes, there will be a result, but nothing like what a truly committed sales professional could deliver. So make sure we have the right people in the right jobs, and most importantly, that we're educating them for that. Not providing ongoing feedback. People need to be told not just what they're doing well, but also where their challenges or areas of development need to be. And unless a leader is involved in the space of sales at some point, which this case study we're about to suggest may reflect, and we'll go around for some answers as I conclude, unless a leader is intimately involved and understands the sales process, it's very, very hard to give feedback. And then invariably what tends to happen is people go on and on and on, and then stresses are elevated, anxiety is elevated, and then we start blaming the salespeople because they're not meeting their KPIs. And the reason often is because of the lack of leadership or insight and the opportunities to coach and develop them for what you wanted. Basically, there are 8 motivators. It's very important, and these are in your slides for handouts, it's very important. How am I going for time here? Okay, it's very important that when you are either recruiting for new staff or with your current team, that you have an insight into what motivates them. For example, if money was a high motivator for an individual, I'll give you some examples. Let's say someone in professional services or wealth creation, share portfolios, things like that. Those types of organisations attract and screen for people that are highly motivated by money. If you had someone in that environment that was not motivated by money, could that be problematic? Absolutely. Competition, just a couple of classic examples. The automotive industry is renowned for screening people who are highly, highly competitive. Is money important? Yes. But what's more important is competition. And the reason for that is that what their structure is within these dealerships is every week they put all the sales up on the board. And if you have someone in the room that is not motivated by competition and his or her sales are up there in lights against others, how do you think they're going to feel about that? Quite demotivating. So it's about understanding what's the culture, what's the environment that you want to create within your business and getting square pegs and square holes. Achievement. Another really good example of achievement would be, and I've got a good example here, someone in the creative or marketing sector. These people thrive on personal achievement. Left to their own devices, they want their motivation comes from the creation of something new, different, or left of centre, as an example. Pacing is a classic thing that contact centres would screen for. The reason that they'd screen for, because they want people who are highly, highly energised in a thriving, busy activity. Classic example of that. Social contact. An example of that would be customer service. What we mean by social contact is what we call the water cooler syndrome. People get energised by being around other people, and if that is your environment, well, make sure that you're screening for people for that. Conversely, the one down the bottom, which is some people are motivated by autonomy, meaning what motivates me is tell me exactly what you want me to do, coach, support and train me in terms of how I need to do it to meet the expectations, and then please leave me alone to go and do that. So they get highly motivated by working autonomously. If you put someone who is motivated by working autonomously into an environment that has lots and lots of social contact, that could be problematic. And the list goes on. Growth. Someone who really wants to join an organisation has a clearly defined or is highly motivated by a career path. that would be someone that you would screen for that's saying, I'm looking for someone not just for today, but to really go on the journey of working through my business. So I want someone that is very, very motivated by personal growth and also very, very open and receptive to learning new skills. So I'm just giving you that as an example. If you have that insight before you employ, or you have people on your team and you can understand what motivates them, hypothetically, if someone is highly motivated by recognition, and you were to identify that, and you want to give that, I would suggest to you that you are not getting maximum performance out of that person. I mentioned to someone recently, like if someone is motivated by recognition, why not just write a quick handwritten 2-paragraph thank you card to them? Just a quick note to say, thanks very much. I'm sitting here in my office and I just wanted to say thank you for your loyalty to date. I value it and I wanted to put my thoughts in writing and just shoot that off to you and send it to their home. Highly motivating, investment, 60 cents, 60 seconds. But if you sent that type of engagement or that type of recognition to someone who is not motivated by recognition, obviously it's not going to get anything. Is this making sense to you? Okay. So recommendation on that. And the last thing I just wanted to quickly touch on is the sales process. What most leaders don't know about sales, people who have not come from that space, they think that a prospect approaches and they either win or lose. So we'll meet, we'll greet, we'll build desire, we'll create the right options, we'll present the solution, and then we'll attempt to close the business, and then we will either win it or lose it. What successful people know is that it is a process of understanding all the different touch points in the sales process, that they consistently tweak, re-engineer, motivate to get their process for their business. And this case study will be a classic example of what a business thought it's either win or lose, good, bad, right or wrong, pass or fail. When you look at a business, intimately look at a business, and you re-engineer a sales process where there are lots of fail points along it, when you've got that process right, that's what makes it replicable, and most importantly is going to build sustainability. And this case study I'm about to hand out now will give you an opportunity to have a conversation around that. And when we've done that, I'm going to give you about 10 minutes, I think 10 or 12 minutes, and then I'm going to come down onto the floor here and we'll have a bit of a Q&A on the back of your responses. It's all self-explanatory. It's about a SME in the Australian market, and they're in project homes, new home building. They were in a fair bit of strife about 5 years ago. There's a few assumptions on there, have a good read of it, and then on page 2 is 3 very simple questions that I'd like you to either individually or collectively as groups discuss, and then we'll have a Q&A to wrap it up. Okay, thank you. Okay. Anyone just like to share with the rest of the room broadly the answer to the first question or their view in terms of what from a macro perspective, what changed? Okay.
Just the leadership. So I would say maybe they got someone in to lead the team, the sales team.
Yeah, that's true. So when you say they got someone in, you're talking about someone to come in to coach the business owner?
Yeah, the leadership team, like the leadership of the sales team.
Yes, exactly. Okay, good point. Someone else?
I think the marketing delivery, like how they perceived into the public of what they do, they actually went down to quality instead of we just build houses.
That's exactly right. So one of the things that they did, so first off, leadership's absolutely right, and I'll talk a little bit more about it in a minute. What they did is they looked at their value proposition, 23 competitors in the marketplace. To the buying public, a little bit of market research, not a lot of expense, but the perception was a home is a home is a home. So, and people often think what they're looking for is the cheapest price. What they really want is the best value for money. So if you understand the buying motivators of someone in that sector, how do you create a value proposition that is measurable in the eyes of the consumer? So that is exactly what they did. They looked at quality. For example, it's state law. When they pour a concrete slab, it needs to be 75 millimetres in thickness. And there wouldn't be a builder in this country that would not adhere to that. So they got to thinking, we wonder if we were to pour a slab that was 100 mil, would that further add value to the DNA and to the integrity of the home. So when people are talking about quality, what they can't see, the salespeople started to educate people about a genuine quality proposition. Small amount of money, but a big value proposition. So absolutely. What else? Comments? Yes. All right. What about the style of leadership do you think this individual possessed at the time? Well, I think that was self-evident. It was quite dictatorial. What do you think that this individual needed to do in terms of working on himself? What was the style?
More inspirational.
More inspirational? Yep. What else?
I think there was a little bit of actually education in the sales process himself, and then being able to coach, mentor and inspire as a result.
Yeah, could you want to repeat that?
Yeah. So a certain element of education of himself of the sales process, and then being able to turn that into educate, inspire and motivate.
Absolutely. He drew a line in the sand, and having been in business for a period of time, he just came to the realisation that unless he understood what they were actually going through, it would be impossible for him to hold them to account or to coach and lead them. So what he did as an ex-builder, which was just such a credit to him, he stepped up and he went on the journey of understanding all the different parts of the sales process of selling a new home. Then what he did with his salespeople, I'm not telling you to do it, don't do what I say, do what I do. He then scheduled time to go out into the displays. The salespeople would do what's called observation sits, and he would sit there talking to new customers as they came in to give him a genuine experience about what are some of the challenges that happen to people in that environment. What do you think that did for the team? It inspired them incredibly, massively amount. Any other comments on that? What do you think could be some of the things that changed the motivation of the sales team? What else do you think that he looked at?
Rewards.
Yes, rewards. Do you want to give a bit more of an insight into that? Okay. What they did, rather than rewarding them on a sale, which was the end result, we broke the process down into all the different parts. In the new home industry, you can't sell a new home unless you've conducted what's called a third appointment. Without a third appointment, that can't happen unless you've done a second appointment. And the second appointment can never ever be realised unless you have conducted a first appointment. And a first appointment can never ever be realised unless you have connected and humanised the relationship. And that can only be done when you meet a stranger in a display. So, marketing drove the traffic, and what he was doing is looking at the end result of the sale. So what we did is we rewarded the people all the way through the sales process. So it was activity-based rather than just sales-based. And so therefore we had a much wider platform, pipeline, because people were consistently demonstrating the parts of the process that needed to be demonstrated. Any other comments on that? Okay, well that just about brings me, you've got 5 more minutes, all right, great. What about your own businesses in terms of sales leadership? We'll just have a broad Q&A. I'd really welcome the opportunity of maybe talking to you about some issues that you may be facing or some broader issues. We'd like to have a quick conversation with that for 4 or 5 minutes. Yep, someone say something? Great. First name, would you like to introduce yourself first?
Mark.
Yeah, there, Mark.
Mark, yeah. The question is how much can you train, and where's the point where you can say, yes, I can train this person to be a good salesperson, and where's the point is that now, this is never going to happen? $1 million question.
Yeah, okay. That goes a lot back to recruitment. For example, the way that I recruit in my new business development managers, we have a lot of people applying for us for a role. The first thing that I would do is I would say to them on the telephone is I'm going to ask you 10 questions. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to rate your responses on a scale of 1 to 10. And in the event that you don't get 80 or more, there's no point in us meeting. Nothing personal, we just know exactly what we're looking for. So when, for example, one of the questions would be, could you tell me the last sales book or personal development book you've read in the last 12 months? Now someone stumbles on that would say what to you or me in terms of their desire to consistently learn and remain a student of their profession. Agreed? Mr. Jack or Mary, whoever it may be. In your past selling career, obviously you would have come across price as an objection. Would that be a fair comment? Yes. Could you give me two strategies, just two strategies or methodologies in terms of how you would handle a price objection in any marketplace? Now, if someone can't answer that, what would that say to you about their level of competency? So it is in the recruitment. With recruitment, with salespeople in particular, most people hire during crisis. And what leaders do is they go, oh, well, at the end of the day, I'll just put this person on and I'll hope and I'll develop and I'll train and I'm going to do all this. And it shouldn't be that hard. If you approach your recruitment from a process of rejection as to why they won't fit in your business, you're going to have a much, much stronger team. Does that make sense to you? So specifically, if you have someone on your team, I would probably be having a conversation with them. You know, these are the expectations. If you recognise that you're not meeting them, what help, if any, do you want from me? How would we measure that? In the event that there is no change in outcome or behaviour, my question to them would be, what would you want me to do? Because the way it is at the moment is not sustainable. Yeah,
makes sense. We are highly technical environments.
Yeah.
The question is always like, I try to
Yeah.
salespeople, they don't understand the technical side.
That's very true.
And then I've got engineers trying to do sales, which just normally doesn't.
Yeah, I was having a conversation with Justin this morning. Yeah, look. Yeah. There's not one turnkey. What I'm saying, technical expertise is one thing. You know, what help have you and or the business, I ask this to everyone, actually done in, as I said before, demystifying the word sales for these people? You know, just to say I can't sell. Everyone in this room can demonstrate moderate to high levels of competency in the area of ethical selling if you want to. But you've got to want to go on the journey. And so what is the motivation for that person? Is it a financial motivation? Is it going to motivate behavioural change for that person? Is it autonomy? Is it recognition? I don't know. But that's what the leader needs to tap into, intimately understand, identify two questions. Do they want help? And if so, do they want your help? And if they do, the rest is easy. But it's when you keep having to flog this stuff, it's just too hard. So business decisions need to be made. And that brings me to I've got one more minute, one more question. Yes?
I'd like to clarify, so you're saying, just to clarify,
Sure.
Peter, are you saying that if a person truly wants to sell, regardless of their level of skill or expertise, you believe they can?
Okay, let me tell you a personal story. When I started sales, my sales career, out of a team of 12 salespeople, I was consistently last or second last every single month. And I'll tell you something else, what it bothered. It bothered my self-esteem, it bothered my confidence, bothered my job security and my financial security. Because what was ingrained in me was that salespeople were born. And so a mentor of mine put me on this journey to go and answer this question. I wonder, could it be true that professional selling is a learnt skill? So I started that journey many, many years ago. I went on the journey of developing myself in this area. I hold 4 Australian retail sales records. I've written a number of best-selling books in my field, and I'm not saying that out of ego. I'm saying that out of the answer to your question is yes. Absolutely yes. And you can be done authentically, transparently, if you want to. Absolutely. Ethical selling is a learnt skill. Fact. Thanks very much for your time. Enjoy your afternoon.